So, my story is from 2014 and involves a couple at the time, Lucas Gingras and Ladonna Merriman. They were in a Georgia mountain cabin in Vermont. Very romantic. You can imagine going up to a Vermont cabin, the foliage. It's just, everything's great. I know you love going to having cabin weekends
Oh
and getting
yeah.
away. Perfect,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Especially in, Vermont, New Hampshire, anywhere up there in New England. It's
Yeah.
beautiful in the fall.
Yeah, so this goes south pretty quickly. Gingras drugs his girlfriend, Merriman, and convinced her that a bear was trying to enter the cabin. They were high on MDMA or Molly. And Detective Paul Locke later said it was after this that Gingras claimed to have heard something trying to get into the cabin. Not knowing for certain if it was a bear or another animal, he set the cabin on fire and both Merriman and him fled out of the cabin. I don't know that's what you do if a bear
That's
is
the
chasing you.
last thing that you do.
Yeah.
It's the last thing you do is burn down the thing that is keeping you from the thing that's getting in your trying to get in.
Right. Yeah. It's like Goldilocks. Don't let the bears in. Gingras, you can imagine the fireplace, right? The fireplace, beautiful fireplace,
Yeah.
cabin. He takes the embers from the fireplace and then sets fire to the cabin, and they fled to escape the impending bear attack. So this beautiful scenery, beautiful backdrop, that fire, awesome. That's the thing that he uses because it's right there to set the cabin on fire.
I mean,
You got nothing so far, right?
I'm just trying to, and that's not even the best way to. I mean, I'm embers. Embers would probably would take a while. Cabins would, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it would still take a while.
he's like blowing on the embers. Come on already. Come on. Oxygen helps right here, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you put them on like curtains or something, but it's such a bizarre thing to do, and it's a bizarre way to do it.
I wonder
it's
if
like trying to burn down a house with a single match.
Right. I'm trying to figure out how this happens. Does he think this sets the cabin on fire and then says a bear is attacking them? Or does he tell her the bear is attacking them and is like, hold on a second, let me grab an ember out of the fireplace and then let's run? Okay. I have no idea, but
Who knows? You know what? She was on Molly.
Yeah.
I'm sure she probably wasn't even thinking of it. She's like, whatever.
Yeah. Let me just follow you.
And I just thought about this. You put a bunch of embers in like on a bed, right? That's a good way to do it.
I'll remember that next time I have a cabin weekend. Sound good?
Just,
You do you, right? Okay, so Gingras then runs with Merriman to a ledge nearby.
We went off on a tangent there, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Jumped off a ledge. He takes her to a ledge nearby and tells her to jump 70 feet off the cliff, thinking she was fleeing from the bear. So that raises a question, of course. Did she really just jump on her own, or was something else going on here? So authorities had the same question, and they believe that Merriman did not jump on her own, that Gingras, of course, was behind it all and had either kicked or pushed her over the cliff's edge. So,
question.
Yeah.
Serious question. If in a situation like that, if he was being honest and said, I told her to jump for whatever reason, and she did, and she died, could he be held liable or accountable in some way?
That's a good question. I don't know. She did it on her own free. She's high as a kite too.
Yeah.
It depends on what she says, right?
She jumped off a 70-foot cliff. She's not saying anything. I imagine, right?
Right. Well, so Gingras sees her at the bottom, scales. He sees her, down. He decides to scale himself down the cliff now, and Merriman is seriously injured. And
she's alive.
She is alive, and he drags her for nearly a mile to an abandoned vehicle. It drags her. Then He leaves her in the abandoned vehicle while he goes to get help. He returns with a friend, and then he left with the friend to go try to find Gingras' own car up the road. So she's in bad straits.
This is so bizarre. How did he know did he just like happen upon an abandoned car? Or did he know it was there? It's so weird.
I know. I don't know.
And where does his friend come from?
I know. I don't
Tell
have
me, Jason.
I don't have all the answers, Sean. Okay. So when Gingras comes back, he now has a gun, and so Merriman's in the front, injured, sitting in the front row, and he fires the gun at the trunk of the abandoned vehicle, trying to convince her that there was a bear in the trunk, that the bear was after them, and it might just be in the trunk. So who's putting a bear in a trunk? First off, how do you get the bear in the trunk? Can the bear even fit in the trunk? And do you think she's now convinced, after shooting a gun at the trunk of this abandoned vehicle, that there really is a bear in there? I think not.
Yeah, there's a lot of holes in this story.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm wondering if he was even on drugs or if he was sober and just got hurt. You know what I mean?
Well, I will get to that in a second. It was quite the cocktail that got him in, both of them, into this state for sure. So he eventually loads her into another car, and on their way to their apartment, he drives past police and a rescue station, and they eventually arrive at their own apartment before calling 911. So medics show up at the apartment, and she's in the bathtub bleeding. She has a broken back, a punctured lung, and a variety of other injuries from, of course, one, falling down the cliff, and two, being dragged almost a mile by her boyfriend.
Oh, God. That's terrible. I mean, that you don't think like dragging someone through the forest that far,
it's not a slip and slide, like it's rough terrain.
Yeah. I mean, just every root and rock and sharp stick and the abrasions, and it's horrible. It'd be really painful.
Yeah. So both Merriman and Gingras later tested positive for alcohol and cocaine. And remember, they had taken MDMA earlier that day, and there was also marijuana, and I mean, like pretty much every cocktail that you would think of, the two of them are having that day or that weekend. So Gingras was charged with attempted murder, domestic assault, reckless endangerment, and of course, arson. Now, the next year, Merriman, she died in 2015 from unrelated causes. I wasn't able to find out exactly what those causes were, but obviously she was not in great shape, between the drug abuse, between the physical, trauma that she had suffered here. So she died. So County Prosecutor T.J. Donovan said that Gingras had concocted an quote, incredible, fantastic story to mislead investigators about his plan to kill Merriman, who had tried to leave him before the wild bear chase story. So here it comes out, right?
There it is. It is.
Yep. Yeah. Up in the woods together. I gotta come up with something creative. He comes up with this bear chase story, which actually is not a bad story, except for one problem: burning down your own cabin, pushing her off a cliff, dragging her through the woods, and putting her in an abandoned car where you're shooting a gun at the back trunk where a bear might be. So if it wasn't for all those things, he might have actually gotten away with it.
If it wasn't for all those things that he did wrong. Wow. That's crazy.
Go ahead.
No, it's crazy. I mean, and there's so much happening that no one saw. There are no witnesses. Yeah. There's a burning cabin. There's a woman that falls. I mean, it's crazy. So that there were no witnesses.
Yeah. And according to Daily Mail, in fact, Sorry. According to Daily Mail, in fact, wildlife and game officials searched for any evidence of a bear in the area, and there was simply no sign of one. They said, we only know of one historical mortality on a person from a bear, and that was in 1943. So there were literally no bears in the area. So he didn't even have that going for him. There
Right.
wasn't, they didn't have bear attacks in Vermont. Like, I kind of would think that there might be because of where they're
Yeah.
at, but they're like, no, we got nothing.
That's crazy. Yeah. Think it through a little bit, I guess, if it would be one of the things to take away if you're planning something like that. You gotta have your story together better than that.
Yeah. Oh, well, this guy is not the sharp.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'd be like going into like the woods of Pennsylvania to murder your girlfriend and saying a lion chased us. You know, it's just
right. A camel. It was a camel.
Yeah. I mean,
a rabid camel.
Bizarre.
So Mr. Gingras is not the sharpest or most stable of citizens here in this country, and he actually got released on furlough in 2019 after being sentenced to 4 to 10 years for the bear hoax incident. Now, let's fast forward to this year. So as I'm finding about this great bear hoax, I'm like, okay, this story's done. Well, this guy pops up in the news again this May 2024. He's back at it again. So this time, state police said a lone suspect had fired a shot at a house and taken off in a vehicle. Disappears, whatever. So the shooter comes back to the same residence and they found Gingras in his white Grand Marquis. And he had a muzzle loader and crossbow sitting in the front seat. So Mr. Bear Hunter, he probably could have used those weapons back in the day when he was trying to escape from that bear, right?
It's like fucking Daniel Boone.
I know, right? No evidence of a coonskin cap or, a burlap bag or anything.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he had a muzzle. What is a muzzle loader anyway?
It's like the rifles that were used in the Revolutionary War. You have to like put the musket ball in, and
he's like, I think maybe he should. Yeah, maybe he showed up, shot one shot. He's like, oh wait, I got to go back to my house and remember how to load this thing.
Yeah.
Okay, let me come back 20 minutes. Okay, I got the next round in here. Let me shoot it now. Yeah.
So why was he there?
I don't know.
They just found him and he had done that.
Yeah, he had done it. He was ready to do more. Like he had all the
makings of an uprising.
Yeah. He's like, I'm just still looking for a bear, but all I got is humans. That's all I got, man.
This is a fan of The Walking Dead, no doubt.
So that was my story. I will endeavor to find even crazier in the woods cabin stories in tribute to you, Sean, and your love of the great outdoors. And we will be back next week with more. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jason Hoch. That's Sean Kipe. And this has been How It All Went South.